Welcome to this comprehensive exploration of Carl Gustav Jung's concept of individuation, a profound psychological and spiritual journey toward becoming one's true self. In this video, we'll unpack what individuation means, how it unfolds, why it matters, and how it connects to Jung's broader theories of the psyche. This is more than self-improvement. It is the art and challenge of becoming whole. Individuation, according to Jung, is the process by which a person integrates the conscious and unconscious parts of their psyche. It's about moving beyond ego identity, collective roles, and unconscious patterns to realize the self, the central archetype of wholeness that guides our life from within. Let's begin with the structure of the psyche as Jung saw it. The psyche consists of several layers. First, there is the ego, the center of conscious awareness. This is the I that we normally identify with, the part of us that thinks, plans, and perceives. Beneath the ego lies the personal unconscious memories, experiences, and emotions that were once conscious but have been forgotten or repressed. And deeper still is the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche shared by all human beings, containing the archetypes, which are universal patterns and images that shape human experience. The self sits at the center and circumference of this system. It is not the ego, but the totality of the psyche. The self represents balance, integration, and the realization of our inner potential. The individuation process begins with a confrontation with the persona. The persona is the mask we wear to adapt to the expectations of society. It includes our professional identity, social roles, and the behaviors we adopt to be accepted. While the persona is necessary for functioning in the world, it becomes problematic when we mistake it for our true self. The first step in individuation is recognizing that the mask is not the reality. We must begin to question, who am I when I'm not playing a role? What lies behind the image I present to others? The second major stage in individuation is the encounter with the shadow. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we deny, reject, or repress, traits we find unacceptable, threatening, or shameful. But it also includes positive qualities we've disowned, such as creativity, assertiveness, or sensitivity. The shadow is not evil. It is simply everything we are but refuse to acknowledge. This confrontation can be difficult. We meet our shadow in dreams, projections, and moments of emotional intensity. It often appears as a dark figure, a monster, or an enemy. To integrate the shadow, we must develop radical self-honesty. Instead of blaming others, we begin to own our reactions. We recognize our judgments as reflections of something within. Jung believed that shadow integration is essential for psychological health. Without it, we live fragmented lives, projecting our darkness onto others and remaining blind to our inner richness. The next stage involves the integration of the anima or animus, the inner opposite. In Jungian terms, every man carries an anima, the feminine inner figure, and every woman carries an animus, the masculine inner figure. These archetypes shape our romantic relationships, our emotional responses, and our creative expressions. Often, we project these archetypes onto partners or public figures, falling in love with an image that reflects our own unconscious. But the real work of individuation is to bring these energies home. The anima in a man represents emotion, intuition, receptivity, and relatedness. The animus in a woman represents logic, structure, assertiveness, and direction. As we integrate these qualities, we become more balanced, more whole, and more capable of deep relationships. The anima and animus evolve over time, from seductive and chaotic figures into spiritual guides, mentors, or soul images. This evolution reflects our inner maturity. Eventually, the path leads to the self, the archetype of wholeness and the central goal of individuation. The self is the organizing principle of the psyche. It harmonizes the conscious and unconscious, reconciles opposites, and brings inner unity. Encounters with the self are often numinous. They may come in the form of dreams, visions, or profound inner experiences. Common symbols of the self include mandalas, circles, the divine child, sacred marriage, or wise old figures. At this stage, the ego must undergo a symbolic death. It must surrender its illusion of control and submit to something greater. This is not annihilation, but transformation. The ego is not destroyed, it is reoriented. Life becomes less about willpower and more about alignment with inner truth. Jung emphasized that individuation cannot be forced. It unfolds naturally, often through crises, conflicts, and creative work. However, we can support it through practices such as dream interpretation, active imagination, shadow work, psychotherapy, journaling, and engagement with myths and symbols. Individuation is not a straight line. It is a spiral journey. We revisit old wounds with new awareness. We cycle through light and darkness, integration and disintegration. And each time, we come closer to the center. This process is not easy. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to face discomfort. It may involve periods of loneliness, confusion, or emotional upheaval, but it is also profoundly rewarding. It brings authenticity, depth, and inner peace. We begin to live not from habit or fear, but from purpose. We become agents of meaning rather than victims of fate. Jung warned of certain dangers along the way. One is inflation, when a person identifies with the self and believes they are godlike. Another is spiritual bypassing, using spiritual concepts to avoid confronting the shadow. Still another is isolation, believing that individuation means detachment from the world. True individuation leads not to withdrawal, but to compassionate engagement. The individuated person is deeply connected to self, to others, to the world, and to the mystery at the heart of life. In conclusion, the individuation process is the psychological equivalent of the hero's journey. It is the myth of the soul, seeking its own center. It is the alchemical work of turning base matter into gold. It is the path of reconciling the many parts of ourselves into an integrated whole. Individuation does not mean perfection. It means wholeness. It means becoming who you were always meant to be, not by escaping your humanity, but by embracing it fully. As Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Thank you for joining this deep dive into Jung's concept of individuation. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with others on their path. Let us know in the comments. Where are you in your own journey toward the self? Until next time, stay curious, stay honest, and keep walking the inner path.